What's going on? Matt Savoca here from Awesemo.com, bringing you the Week 15 Monday Night Football DraftKings Contenders video. This is Chicago versus Minnesota, a divisional game that doesn't look all that exciting on paper. 44.5 point total. Minnesota favored by almost a touchdown here, and by PFF grades, these are two middling teams, at least for the most part here. Before we get into this video, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel so that you always know when we're going live, and if you could give me a follow on Twitter at Draftaholic, that would always be much appreciated. We'd also like to thank our presenting sponsor, No House Advantage. No House Advantage is offering player props contests for all major sports, and you can use promo code Awesemo to get a first match deposit bonus of up to $25. Download it on the App Store or Google Play, or go to nohouseadvantage.com and get started today. Okay, guys, on the screen here, you'll see my 10 through 6 of my top plays here. The Vikings defense comes in at number 10. In the optimal lineup, a solid third of the time, which is right around where Adam Thielen is in our optimal lineup percentages. Obviously, that's not really where he would be, right? Because if he's in, he has a much higher chance of being in the optimal lineup than 35%. But if he's out, then of course he has zero chance. So right now we're sort of playing those probabilities, at least at this point on Monday night. We don't know. He's a game time decision with an ankle injury that has kept him out for 2 weeks at this point. Number 8, the tight end for the Bears, Cole Kmet, in the optimal lineup 37% of the time. Number 7 is Kirk Cousins in the optimal lineup 43% of the time. And number 6 is Justin Fields, which means that both quarterbacks on this slate, on DraftKings at least, are not in my top 5. Very, very rare, but that's the kind of skill position power we have at the very top here. So let's find out who's in the top 5 this week. At number 5, it's Darnell Mooney, and honestly, Darnell Mooney is looking like a very solid pick in the draft last year for the Chicago Bears, having a breakout second season here. He's led the NFL in target share in 2 weeks already this season. He's 13th in the NFL in target share this season overall, and 20th in air yard share. The clear first option in the Chicago Bears middling pass attack is Darnell Mooney, and you could easily say he could get 7-8 targets in this game, no problem. He's had 16 targets in a game this year. So if you're looking for a target hog that's not named Justin Jefferson, that's getting pretty solid projections here, he's getting over 30 DraftKings points 4.6% of the time, and is the optimal captain play nearly 10% of the time. I think Darnell Mooney is a really solid tournament play, especially at 7,400 this week. At number 4, it's Justin Jefferson. Just as we said, these two number 1 wide receivers look really good in our projections, and Jefferson, after a fantastic rookie year, has followed that up with a sensational sophomore year where he's had double-digit fantasy points in every single game except for one. In fact, he's had 6 catches or a touchdown in 85% of his games. Absolutely ridiculous. And if Adam Thielen is out on the other side, you're definitely going to see him get a spike in target share. 14 targets last week, 15 targets last week, 14 targets the week before that. Yeah, I could say that's a pretty high target floor for Justin Jefferson when Thielen is out. He's over 30 DraftKings points in nearly 20% of our simulations. He's the optimal captain play in 8.8% of our simulations, and he's in the optimal lineup nearly 50% of the time. He's an awesome player. At number 3, it's kicker Greg Joseph for the Minnesota Vikings. Yeah, we got a kicker take here. Of course, this is all about value here, and we don't have a ton of value options, particularly on DraftKings. The tertiary options, the auxiliary weapons on both offenses are kind of priced up, and the very, very low salary options, under 2K, they're not very good plays at all for the most part. So we're going to have to find somewhere in the middle. 3,400 salary for Greg Joseph. He's been a journeyman kicker. I believe this is his 7th team since coming out of FAU. I don't have a whole lot of kicker takes here other than we play kickers when they are 6.5 point favorites and we need salary saving options. If he's a part of the number 11 offense via PFF grades, then they're probably going to be in the red zone a good enough amount of times, especially against Chicago's 28th ranked defense. if they don't score touchdowns, they're going to need the points to win, and that's where Greg Joseph comes in. At number 2, it's David Montgomery, running back for the Chicago Bears, almost certain to lead the Bears in total opportunities this Monday night. He ran 19 routes, which was solid. He's now run 19 or more routes in 3 straight weeks. And that's really what we need from Montgomery. We need that receiving upside. And certainly the last 2 weeks, the targets have really been there. 16 targets since week 13 for David Montgomery. That's the most in a 2-week span he's ever had in his career. So even though we've had some fluctuation in the number of carries he has, he only had 10 carries last week, but 21 the week before that. We're seeing him in the optimal lineup a really solid 59% of the time. Not surprised by that, but I am surprised to see him as an optimal captain play over players like Justin Jefferson, 11.4% of the time. He has a really good ceiling here, over 18.7% of our simulations. He's getting over 30 DraftKings points. David Montgomery, regardless of game script here, with that receiving upside, looks like a really solid bet, even at 9K in salary. Before I get into my final play, my number 1 play for this Monday Night Football matchup, I should say the second of our Monday Night Football matchups due to the scheduling craziness that happened in the NFL. Do want to remind you guys, go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel so that you always know when we're going live. And if you could give me, Matt Savoca, a follow on Twitter at Draftaholic, that's much appreciated as well. We'd also like to thank our presenting sponsor, No House Advantage. Go ahead, download it on the App Store, on Google Play, use promo code Awesemo to get a up to $25 first match deposit bonus. So much fun with those player props contests over there. And guys, while you're at it, go ahead and leave a comment below. Which of these have been your favorite? Maybe your least favorite plays for tonight that I mentioned. Always like to hear from you guys. Okay, we're finally there. On to my top play for Monday Night Football. At number 1, yeah, this is a big duh here. It's Dalvin Cook. Dalvin Cook is in a great spot here. Fundamentally, we're playing running backs on teams that are favored by nearly a touchdown. But when you consider the fact that Minnesota's offense is 11th best in the NFL via PFF's offensive grades, and Chicago's defense is 28th best in the NFL via PFF's defensive grades, and Dalvin Cook has had the same level of elusiveness and breakaway run rates as we're used to when on the field this season, we could see Dalvin Cook replicating what he did last week, where he took 27 carries and 3 targets and turned it into 222 total yards, over 30 fantasy points. That's absolutely in the range of outcomes here. Obviously, he doesn't get there every single time, but we're seeing him get over 30 fantasy points 38% of the time. He's the optimal captain play 15% of the time, and that's why he's in the optimal lineup a strikingly high 76% of the time. And that's going to do it for my Week 15 Monday Night Football DraftKings Bears versus Vikings top plays. This should be a great game, and obviously these teams are probably headed in different directions. The Vikings are fighting for their playoff lives here. They are 1 game out of that final playoff spot, so should be a contentious matchup. Do think Minnesota ultimately pulls away here. I think the spread is about right. Ultimately, I think this goes slightly under, but the Vikings take this one by 6 points. If you're looking for the FanDuel version of this video, it's around here somewhere on the channel. Go ahead and like this video, subscribe to the channel. You guys know what to do. We will be back on Thursday for my Thursday Night Football top plays. Until then, I'm Matt Savoca from Awesemo.com. We'll see you guys next time.